The people were overwhelmed. The streets of Vancouver were filled with grief and anger.
To neglect tragedies such as the one that happened.
On October 14th, there was a gathering to commemorate the death of a Polish man who had died at the Vancouver airport after being shot by a policeman with a taser gun. A tragedy brought about by a 50,000-volt electric gun called the Taser Gun. The citizens criticized the federal police for firing so easily.
Taser, taser, we'll shoot you a jolt or two. If you look crazy, the cops without a clue will blame the victim for dying while the chief of police is lying. So please be sweet when cops you greet, or we'll point a taser at you.
We don't want police to kill our people, innocent people. We want RCMP not to lie and not to cover it up.
Robert's death became known to the world only through the private journalistic actions of a 25-year-old man. As a witness, he had recorded the situation and uploaded it onto a website on the internet. The truth could have been buried for good, but it was revealed to the world instead. The recording, 8 minutes and 40 seconds long, showed the last moments of Robert's life.
It means I saw what happened with my own eyes. I saw the life drain out of the man's face, and I heard it with my ears. And I heard the blood-curdling screams of pain. That was his last thing that he did.
What happened that day at the Vancouver airport? 40-year-old Robert Dziekanski came from Poland to Canada for the first time to live with his mother, who had already immigrated to the country. He was to meet his mother in front of the exit of the international line at the luggage area. However, the two of them never met, and Robert, who couldn't speak English, was left in a helpless state. After 9 hours of deliberation, he was finally allowed to pass the immigration's control. However, he wasn't able to see his mother. Unable to find his mother in the foreign land, the lost man began to make a scene. The police were alerted and they immediately came to the scene. The 4 armed policemen surrounded the foreigner in an instant. Soon the problematic gun was fired and 50,000 volts of electricity knocked down the sturdy man. Everything happened within 24 seconds from the moment the police arrived. Just like that, Robert Dziekanski met his tragic end after only 10 hours in Canada.
The police say he was acting aggressively toward everybody else, but he wasn't. We were there, we were watching. I mean, he wasn't making us feel in danger at any point, at any time. And that's why the outrage. There's no need to use tasers. There's no need to do anything, but they did.
Another witness was present at the gathering, a middle-aged woman who tried to help the distressed Robert. She spoke to him in several languages, but couldn't speak Polish.
I didn't feel any danger, plus police wasn't there. How do they know that he was dangerous? He was upset. There is a difference between being dangerous and upset. And I never felt any threat by him. Even in the video it shows that he wasn't harming anybody. He was just shouting.
It's been almost 2 months since Robert's undeserved death, and the majority in Canada is mourning his death. how is the mother coping with the tragedy of having lost her son? The filming crew decided to pay her a visit. Robert's mother, Zofia, was residing in a small city called Kamloops, approximately 400 kilometers from Vancouver. After her son's funeral, Zofia was evading all media contact and living quietly. She carefully greeted the crew from Korea.
No, I'm in medicine.
Yeah.
And I can say something not proper, then I don't want to have against me anything.
After much hesitation, she finally let the crew into her house.
He had no present, only.
The room that was provided for her son to live was now only filled with reminders of his existence.
Any people and why?
While living away from her son for 6 years, the one hope that kept her going was the thought of seeing her son again.
Books.
Instead of having Robert by her side, all she has are the 3 bags he was carrying with him. Robert was a man full of dreams to travel all the different countries in the world.
But I have another.
The numerous atlases in his bags show his anticipation on coming to a new country.
This.
There is also an English dictionary.
English and Polish. English, Polish. He has a plan
Yes,
to
he has
study in Canada.
Yes, in school, yeah.
In Kamloops.
Yes, in Kamloops. Immigration school staff. In Kamloops Immigration Services, they have school inside. That is in Victoria Street, and I was already talked before about when my son will come, then he will start study basic English.
Her son never got to properly walk on the land that he had dreamed of for such a long time.
Now he's done. I never see him anymore, and that's still pain. I'm sorry, still pain.
Zofia and her son lived together in Warsaw, Poland. She came here first because of their circumstances. But she was able to keep her promise of calling for him after 6 years. Robert had never left Poland before. This was his first ever flight. Zofia was a little worried because her son couldn't speak English. So she told him to stay at the luggage area. Zofia had been dreaming of that day for such a long time. She was excited about meeting her son. But even after his arrival time had passed, Robert didn't show up. He was lost in the unfamiliar airport. Zofia made many inquiries at different parts of the airport. The only response she got was that they couldn't find such a person. She waited 6 hours for her son. They never met. They were only a short distance away, looking for each other at the same time. Yet no one in the airport told either of them that there was another person also looking for someone. She couldn't bear to watch the last video recording of her son. She's now in a battle against the Canadian police who caused her son's undeserved death.
The police did to him, and yes, I would like to see if people see and know the truth.
The electronic stun gun is used not only in Canada, but in 44 other countries, including South Korea, the UK, and other European countries. As soon as the gun is fired, a metallic chip sticks to the body. The stun gun then sends a strong electrical current to the metallic chip, which assures electric current can directly paralyze the neurotransmitters. The manufacturing company and the police argue that the gun is safe because the electric current is similar to the natural waves that are made in the human body.
So the taser, based on the best available medical information and independent research, both in Canada and in the United Kingdom, has shown the device is safe for use.
The stun gun is claimed to have no dangerous effects on life. However, since the death of Robert Dziekanski, the debate has continued.
I think it's fair to say that given the use of the taser and the fact that it essentially that killed him, what needs to provoke is a reflection on the use of tasers in Canada. We'd like to see a moratorium because we've seen since the incident at Vancouver International Airport a number of other cases where individuals have died as a result of the use of tasers.
In the last 3 years, the use of the stun gun has resulted in 20 deaths in Canada alone. When including North America, the figure goes up to 289. Because of the idea that it isn't life-threatening, the number of guns being purchased and the amount of its use is increasing. The human rights organization Amnesty International composed a report on the excess use of the stun gun and stated that its use must be stopped until there has been plenty of verification that it is safe.
We're saying that in international standards, they need to place the taser where it belongs, just before the use of a firearm, so that all police forces around the world will then have to adhere to that as their standard, as their guideline. Right now, as you say, it's completely open. Individual police forces can decide how and when they can use a taser, and that's not acceptable because it is a potentially lethal weapon. It's not a non-lethal weapon, it's a less lethal weapon.
As there is no standard for when and to what extent the stun gun should be used, at times it is fired against people who have already been hit and are on the floor. The debate on the safety of the stun gun is ongoing. So what is the Canadian government's stance? On the 22nd of November, the British Columbian Police finally made their official statement after a long silence.
But at this particular time, just last week, the British Columbia Association of Chiefs of Police supported and continued the support for the use of the CEW as a tool in our tool case to be able to deal with the public, with the suspects, and to ensure the public safety, member safety, and the suspect safety as well.
It's been 50 days since Robert Dziekanski's death. A small sensor stands in the only place he had been to in Canada. People continue to come and pay their respect. However, there is still one thing that hasn't changed since that day. Robert paid too great a price for being lost in a foreign country. Grief from the irreversible circumstances of that day fills the Vancouver airport.